Example 1, graphing a system of linear inequalities. Graph the system of inequalities on the set of axes. So here you will see that we have two linear inequalities. We will be graphing them on the same graph. We are going to follow the same steps as we did in the previous lessons, but now instead of having one inequality to shade, we have two. We are also going to use our calculators to help us find the points to plot on our graph. Let's begin with the first inequality. Y is less than or equal to negative 3 over 4x plus 5. The first step to graphing is to make sure that your inequality is written in y equals mx plus b form. This one already is, so we can go ahead and put this into our graphing calculator. On our graphing calculator, we're going to click the y equals button, and we are going to type in negative 3 over 4x plus 5. Now, there are different ways to type in fractions, but I like to press the buttons alpha, which is the green button, y equals, and then enter. This opens up a fraction bar, and we are going to type negative 3 on the top. We're going to arrow down to the denominator and input 4. And then we are going to arrow out of the fraction. Now we're back on the main line. So we type in x plus 5. We can take a look at our graph to see what our line should look like. Now, looking at this equation, I see that there is a fraction as our slope. So I can anticipate that there might be some fractions when we look at our table. Remember, we are not going to worry about graphing the strange fractions on the grid. We are only going to focus on graphing the nice, clean points. Let's go to our table and see what we can find. So here's a quick glimpse. As you can see, the first coordinate, which is our y-intercept, 0, 5, is a nice, easy to plot point. But the next one, 1 and 17 over 4, that might be a little bit trickier to graph on the grid. So we are not going to plot that point or add it into our table. We're going to skip down to the next nice, clean, easy to plot point, which is 4, 2. Let's begin building our table of values. Let's plot these points on our graph. The points will look like this. Because this is an inequality, we have to remember to analyze our inequality symbol before we connect our dots. So let's see. Are we going to connect our dots with a solid or a dashed line? Good. We are going to connect our dots with a solid line. And are we shading above or below this line? Because this is the less than symbol, we want to shade everything less than this line, or everything below the line. Your graph will look something like this. Please remember to shade lightly with your pen or pencil because we still need to graph the second inequality on the same grid. If you shade too dark, then you might have difficulty seeing the grid marks on the graph. All right, let's go to the next inequality. Our inequality is 3x minus 2y is greater than 4. The first step we're going to do is subtract 3x from both sides. This leaves us with negative 2y is greater than negative 3x plus 4. Then we need to divide both sides by negative 2. And what happens when we divide an inequality by a negative number? We have to remember to flip our inequality symbol. This will leave us with y is less than 3 over 2x minus 2. And this is the information we will input into our calculator. Again, reopening a fraction, alpha, y equals, enter, and we're typing in 3 over 2, remember to arrow out, x minus 2. And remember, because we have this fraction as our slope, we are already anticipating having some fractions in our coordinates, but we are not focusing on those. We are going to focus on the nice, easy, clean points that we can graph. Looking at our table of values, it looks like there's quite a few nice and easy clean points that we can graph. For example, negative 4 and negative 8 is an easy point to plot. But this one, negative 3 and negative 13 over 2, might be a little bit tricky. So we're going to skip over that. Let's put these tables on our paper and plot the points. After plotting our points, please remember that we must analyze our inequality symbol before we connect our dots. The inequality symbol that we have for this line is a less than symbol. So ask yourselves those two questions. Are we going to shade above or below this line? So ask yourselves those two questions. Are we connecting our dots with a solid or a dashed line? And will we be shading above or below this line? Because this inequality does not have the equal to symbol with it, then we are going to connect our dots with a dashed line. And because, again, this is a less than symbol, we want to shade everything below the line. Your system of inequalities will look like this. Please remember to label both of your inequality lines with the original inequalities. Let's answer the question. Is the point 6, 3 a solution to the system of inequalities? Let's find that point on the graph. Is this point a part of our solution set? Well, remember, the solution set for a system of linear inequalities is the area where the shaded regions overlap. This blue and red shaded area right here. Is the coordinate 6, 3 in this part of the graph? No, it is not. So our answer will say no. It is not a solution to the system of inequalities because it does not lie in the double shaded area.